So we find ourselves at the end of the list that we have on hand. Mr. District Attorney, would you like to speak now, or as we spoke earlier, would you like to wait until after our action items?
I defer to you, Mr. Chairman.
You can.
Good morning.
Morning.
Mr. Chairman, board members, I truly appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today, this morning, and I want to particularly thank Mr. Chairman for allowing me the opportunity to exceed the 2 minutes that is normally reserved for open session. To be a prosecutor or public defender requires a unique skill set and a true dedication to public service. Who would you trust to interview an 8-year-old child who was molested? A prosecutor. Who would you trust to try a homicide case and help a grieving family obtain justice? A prosecutor. Who would you trust to defend a loved one who was facing a lifetime in prison? A public defender. I know firsthand the sacrifices that these attorneys give each and every day to our community. The 60-plus hours work week, the sleepless nights, the missed dinners with families, the missed recitals in soccer games. The trauma that comes with the emotional, mental, and physical toll of having to look at autopsy photos or review and listen to child abuse. This is all carried every day by the attorneys in this room. These attorneys carry that with them, but they will often tell you that this is a calling. Now, while we often disagree on the particular merits of a case, both prosecutors and public defenders in Sacramento will agree that we have exceptional lawyers in Sacramento that are the backbone, that are the heart and soul of our criminal justice system. My office prosecuted the Golden State Killer and a number of other nationally recognized cases. But who defended those individuals? The public defenders did. Over the last week and a half, I've seen firsthand frustration boil over. I've seen firsthand how there's been a sense of desperation grip over 250 county lawyers. Well, that backbone has broken. That heartbeat has stopped beating. That soul has been crushed. Trials have been delayed. Preliminary hearings have been pushed back. Victims and witnesses and defendants have had to wait and wait and wait while the wheels of justice come close to a screeching halt. And last night, yesterday afternoon, I was in court until 5 p.m. trying to make sure that an attempted murder case wasn't dismissed as a result of the strike. Somebody who had been shot, separate person had been stabbed. Now, you've heard from most recently Ms. Benson and myself. And what I would tell you is this: what I've seen in the courtroom, I've also seen things outside the courtroom. In the last several weeks, I've seen and heard of attorneys in my office crying in the bathroom because they see no end in sight to this strike. I have attorneys and friends who are prosecutors who are fighting cancer, who are dealing with family crisis, and yet they're on the picket lines, worried about their health benefits, not getting paid because they care about their profession and see it in crisis. And as I've mentioned, and as you've heard from Ms. Benson, the workload for the attorneys in Sacramento is simply crushing. Let me give you an example. Last Tuesday, when the attorneys were on strike, my office had to review 137 felony police reports that were submitted. And we had to review those for charging decisions and make a determination or a dangerous criminal released from jail. And we only had 3 hours to do so because of court deadlines. And that didn't even include, for example, all the other reports coming into domestic violence, sexual assault, gangs, homicide, in our juvenile division. And this morning, because of the 3-day holiday weekend, my short-staffed office has to review 162 felony reports by 11 a.m. 11 a.m. Now, last year, my office prosecuted 10,000 misdemeanor cases and 7,000 felonies. Each one of these cases, each one of these files contain victims and witnesses who are your constituents. Each one of them describing in gripping detail how crime has ripped the very fabric of their lives. Now, ideally, We would want seasoned, veteran, experienced, courtroom-tested lawyers to be handling these cases from both the DA and the public defender side. But reality is much different. Only 7% of my prosecutors have between 11 and 14 years of experience. 40% of the prosecutors in my office have less than 5 years of experience. Many left after COVID. Many left to work less and make more money, and they never came back. Because of the strike and because of the widespread belief among the attorneys that the county doesn't care about its frontline workers who are working in the criminal justice system, many more are leaving. I know for a fact that there are several public defenders and several district attorneys that are actively looking for jobs elsewhere right now and applying for other offices. And when those attorneys leave, it's going to swell the caseload for those that remain. And I won't be able to backfill those attorneys because our attorneys in Sacramento make 18% less than their counterparts in Solano County. And you might be thinking, well, Solano County, their housing cost is higher. But the level 4 attorneys in San Joaquin County make more than the level 4 attorneys in Sacramento, and that's just right next door. The exodus of prosecutors will force my office to turn back the clock 20 years. Look, I believe in prevention, intervention, and education. Angela Webb talked about these programs where we're out there teaching and educating kids about fentanyl. I'm going to have to pull back from that. We have a program that talks about internet bullying and cyberbullying for kids. I'm going to have to pull back from that. In regards to our community prosecutors that are out there engaging, I'm going to have to pull back from that because I have to protect the core services as the attorneys leave. Now, the failure to avoid the strike and to resolve it has damaged both offices, public safety, and our criminal justice system. And here's the deal. 6 months before the current contract was set to expire, the attorney union actually went to Chief Labor Negotiator for the county, Matt Connelly, and asked to negotiate. But Matt Connelly came to the table late, unprepared, and empty-handed. Without even a salary survey in hand, he told the attorneys, I'm not going to give you any equity raises. That's like me filing criminal charges without even reading the police report. That is offensive and in many respects, bad faith. Now, Mr. Connelly then waited until 2 weeks before the contract was set to expire, before presenting the county's salary survey. A salary survey that didn't even include health benefits, which had always been included. And when he was called out on that and said, why isn't this included? He says, well, take me to the arbiter. And then he went on to say, well, you know what? The fact finder, it's not binding, so just take me there. At best, that's gamemanship. At worst, that is bad faith. Now, why would the county's lead labor negotiator wait and delay? Well, we have the answer to that because the fact finder actually wrote in his report, and I'm going to read it, quote, it is the county that in 2022, intentionally or not, acted consistently with a perverse incentive and gained a $1.5 million windfall. The evidence does not show any ethical basis for the county to retain the cost savings it gained from the half year it failed to respond to SCAA's 2021 request for negotiation and subsequent failure to meet mutually set negotiating deadlines. Though SCAA did not establish on this record that the county intentionally sought to save costs by delaying and frustrating negotiations, unintentional understaffing also should not allow the county to retain half a year of wages it was already planning to pay SCAA members. Mr. Connelly's delay was the county's windfall at the expense of the attorneys. Now, I want to provide you with a different perspective. Assume for a moment that the county had agreed to pick a particular fact finder, and assume for a moment that that fact finder then said, you know what? The attorneys are fairly paid. There's no disparity here. Well, if the attorneys came before you and asked for a raise in that situation and went on strike, I believe that they would roundly be criticized. But the opposite happened in this situation. And so my question is Mr. Connelly getting criticized in the same way that the attorneys would be criticized if the fact-finding report was different? Or did he get a promotion? Now, I understand and appreciate that you must be good stewards of the taxpayers' money, and that no one department should be overpaid or overcompensated. But there is also a responsibility to treat the employees fairly and reasonably. And I feel that that has not been done in this situation. Now, how do I put this? I've never been accused of not telling people what I think. I have earned a reputation perhaps for being aggressive and determined. And that comes from years of being in the courtroom. But those years have also earned me a reputation for being straightforward, fair, and honest. I do not relish what I'm about to say. And I do not enjoy criticizing others. But it needs to be said. As frustrated as I am towards the lead negotiator and the labor relations for the county in terms of their tactics, I'm even more frustrated and disappointed in the CEO. And the fact that we need not be here today at this stage. And yes, I am talking about David Villanueva, because months ago he had the opportunity to avoid this and to prevent this, and he does now.
Can you wrap up, Mr. District Attorney?
Yes.
Thank you.
2 years ago, I came to Mr. Villanueva and I asked him to resolve this impasse because it would undermine public safety. In that time, he went on to become the CEO of Sacramento County. Since that time, David Villanueva has done little to nothing to resolve this impasse. As a matter of fact, I think he made it even worse. After much urging, he provided a counter-proposal last week to the union. And that counter-proposal was to give a 3% equity raise, but in exchange for that, actually would require the union to give back the 3% in deferred comp. That was like taking 3 steps forward and 3 steps backward. That was like throwing gasoline onto the fire. If you notice, unfortunately, there was an uptick in intensity in the strike in the middle of last week, and it was because of this offer. Because even the COLA increase dropped the floor to 1%, which the attorneys hadn't seen in a while. It was like throwing gasoline onto the fire. And the attorneys, I had attorneys that were not on strike, but after receiving that offer, they crossed the picket line and they remained on strike. Now, I've heard talk that the attorneys are getting paid too much or would get paid too much, but the fact of the matter is this. These attorneys went and earned a 4-year degree, went to law school, accumulated $100,000 worth in debt, passed a bar examination that is the most difficult in the country. Yes, they are public servants, but they are skilled public servants and highly educated public servants. I'm not asking for a windfall here, but here's the situation. In the last 2 years, and in the last 2 weeks, my question is, I've seen a complete lack of urgency on behalf of the CEO's office. Where is the counter-proposal? What has the CEO's office done in regards to a just resolution? What has the CEO's office done in regards to understanding the attorney's position? What has the CEO's office done in regards to trying to move this past a stalemate? Where has the CEO's office been in regards to informing you of everything that you need to know? Where has the CEO's office been in regards to updates, in regards to closed sessions, in regards to counter-proposal? Where have they been in the last several days as we have faced the most spiraling public safety and labor strike that we've seen in the last 10 years? And I will end in this note. As disheartened as I am by what has transpired, I do see a path forward. I deeply believe through my conversations with each and every one of you the elected officials up here, I strongly believe that each and every one of you, through experience and through my conversation with you, believe in public safety, that you are pro-safety and pro-worker. I honestly believe and feel, and I know that each and every one of you want to see a fair resolution in this. I know that because I've spoken to you. I know that because I've worked with you on a number of different issues, and I support each and every one of you. But I am asking respectfully that we have a fair resolution in this case. Not about next year's contract or the year after that, but right now, and retro pay. And I am also asking respectfully, along with fire, that you put on the June 2025 ballot a proposal to amend the county charter, precluding prosecutors and public defenders from going on strike, but in exchange for binding arbitration, so we never have to go through this again. And I will end on this. I know that I've been very strident in my comments, but I thought quite a long time before I came here in what I would say. And those strident comments are the result of an urgency and alarm that I see. Both offices have been damaged. Our criminal justice system has been damaged. Public safety has been undermined. And that is why I come with a heavy heart, but with deep respect for all 5 of you, and ask for this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.